Hey y'all, I'm Brittany Kelly, and welcome to The Journey Within. In these 8 episodes, I take you through 8 women's journeys. Always remember, be kind, because everyone you meet is on a journey of their own.
Hey y'all, I'm here with my good friend Amara Hall, and I cannot wait to get into her journey. She is just a big ball of light, and funny story, we almost did a reality TV show together, so we might get into that later, maybe not, I don't know. But thank you for being here with me.
Thanks for having me.
I'm just so excited.
So great.
I'm so excited to be here in your new home.
Yeah.
That's where we're sitting now. And just so excited to dig into the story. So let's just dive right in.
Let's go.
Dive all the way in. And Amara is one of my friends that there's like no surface combo here. It's just like, how's your heart?
Yep.
Deep combo. So I can't wait to get into this. So tell us a little bit about your background, where you grew up, how you grew up.
All the things.
Lay it
All
on
the things.
us.
Okay. So I was born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland, or Baltimore, Maryland. But you know, when you're in the South, you have to like properly enunciate things, or they go where. Moved to Nashville about 10 years ago. I think I had a pretty normal childhood. I have 2 older brothers, a younger sister. Always wanted to be in the music business in some capacity. So when it was time to move to Nashville, it was like, it was either going to be in LA, and New York, what's the other music town in Atlanta? Mm-hmm. Nashville was never on the radar. And it was a really tough decision, but I knew I wanted to be in a music town. So it's either Atlanta, LA, New York. Nashville was not on the radar, but as soon as I visited, it was an immediate yes. It was like I had to be here.
Oh, I love that. So this, we are talking about mental health today, and I want to just dive really deep into that.
Yeah.
Was mental health talked about in your family? I know for growing up for me, mental health was sometimes related with mental illness, so it really wasn't spoken about.
Totally.
How was your experience of that, and when did you kind of hear of that term, and what did that mean to you?
I don't think that mental health is something that actually came into my consciousness until my adult life. I think that exactly what you just said, mental health was always associated with, okay, well, what's wrong with you? Then there must be something wrong, right? So I honestly cannot recall talking about it at all as I was growing up.
Wow.
I mean, I was in a very loving home, but there was no discussions of, do you need to take a mental health day? Like that's something you hear now. I didn't hear that.
Did you grow up religious, or was there any sort of spirituality in your home? Like how was
For
that?
sure.
Is that what you leaned on?
Oh, absolutely. So church, non-optional, Sunday morning, you are going. I have way too many. I did something recently that gave me a lot of joy. I threw away all my dresses.
Oh, okay. Love that.
But
I hate dresses.
I just, I like to.
Did you have to wear like the little fluffy socks?
The frou-frou
and stuff?
socks,
Yeah,
the white shoes with the strap. It's like, come on, Mom. But anyway, I definitely grew up in a super, I would say, ultra religious household.
Did you feel like pressure from that?
It just was the way it was, right? So you don't really, I don't think I thought about it as pressure. You just think that like you have to be good. There's always like, be a good girl. That comes up a lot for me when I'm working through childhood stuff now. But, it was just always being presentable, being nice to the adults, the relationship with God was less personal and more of like a checklist, I would say. The things that you have to do to be a good Christian, loving, girl, right?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely felt that, younger. I wasn't forced to go to church. But I kind of thought going to church was cool because my friends did. But I quickly did see that. And now as an adult, I realize, you know, I did put a lot of pressure on myself to perform when really you can kind of go be spiritual anywhere.
Totally.
In the woods, at your home. You know, you don't have to be the one, you know, putting up the chairs, you know, after the service and making sure everybody saw you.
Right.
Know? Did you deal, like, as an adult looking back on your childhood, did you see, you know, did you deal with any sort of, like, mental anxiety or mental pressures, like, as an adult, like, looking back?
1000%.
Does it, like, your inner child bubble up?
Well, actually, right now, as we're talking about it, like, my hands are sweating.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like there's
reaction,
there's like a visceral reaction to, like, the guilt and shame that comes with being a good girl, right? And am I doing it right? And there's still this huge, huge pressure to please daddy, please my father, and, like, my actual father, right? And so now that I'm actually able to articulate those things and realize, oh, I'm carrying these things in my backpack that really don't belong to me, you know? And I didn't even put them there, but there they are. And then you go, oh, well, let me take that out. That's no longer serving me. Okay, let me take this out. That's no longer serving me. So I'm definitely in that phase of life where it's like, these were the mechanisms that really helped me when I was in middle school, when I just wanted friends and I wanted to be in a Bible study because, like, I wanted people to know me and to be known, right? And you want to have friends around you, right? And that same thing throughout high school. But at a certain point, you realize that if it's not serving you, like, it's okay to let it go. It's actually okay to take it out of your backpack, put it on the floor, and walk away. You know?
I love that metaphor.
Right? So there's an insane amount of pressure, even now, to be good. You know? But it just means something different for me now. Right?
So, you know, you said, you know, we were talking before, and I know you said when you were around 25 is, like, when you made that move to Nashville.
Yep.
Can you describe that feeling? And, like, you know, if anyone's watching this right now and they're like, you know, should I make that move? Should I take that job? Should I leave my parents' house?
Totally.
You know, how are you feeling then? Do you feel lost, anxious, scared? Like, what were you feeling?
Oh my gosh. So I moved here 4 days before my 25th birthday. And I can remember walking around Nashville, so I didn't have a car yet. And so I moved downtown in a 1-bedroom apartment with my brother. Shout out to my brother. And I remember walking from downtown to 12 South. And it was before 12 South was, like, the 12 South that we know right now. And super lonely. Talked to myself a lot, which, you know, we all talk to ourselves. If you don't talk to yourself, I don't trust you. And if you tell me that you don't, you're lying. But it was like, it was this place of, I know I'm supposed to be here. Like, I know that whatever this next stage of development for me, I know it's going to happen here in Nashville. And so, but also, I didn't have any friends. I didn't have anyone to, like, even call and just be like, hey, let's go to Target and spend $150 when we just came in here for one thing. You know, like, I didn't have any of that. So it was very, I wrote in my journal a lot. Like, my journal is my friend.
You feel like that was, like,
you know?
therapeutic? Just write it down.
Just write it down. And yeah, I just kind of had to, like, force myself to show up places, you know, and just go talk to people. I've never had an issue talking to strangers, but it really forced me to step outside of my comfort zone and just, like, go. Just go, show up. You're going to be weird. It's going to be awkward. That's fine. It's a part of life.
were you doing anything, like I know you just said journaling, but were you doing anything, are your feet killing you?
Well,
Kick them out here.
okay. We're going to kick it.
I'll kick it out here. So, you know, you mentioned you were journaling, and that is a very therapeutic practice. Were you doing anything else for your mental health at this time? Like, were you exercising? Were you, I know you said you didn't have that many people to talk to. Like, did you have the awareness that you were, having some mental battles at that point, or?
At that point, I would say I was just talking to God a lot, right? I was just like, okay, well, I know how to do that, and so I didn't have the strategies I have now, which, I know we're going to get into, but it was, it was just grasping onto any kind of kindness I received, or, when people say things like, oh, like, we should go grab coffee, da, 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 da. Like, I actually would hound those people down. Like, no.
No, seriously,
let's
we're going.
actually go like get coffee because I'm dying here.
Yeah. So is that something, like if someone's watching this and they're just feeling all those feelings about moving, like what's something that you would tell that person, or like your younger self, like it's going to be okay? Like it's like.
It is going to be okay. Don't be afraid to ask for help. That was so hard for me. But moving to a new place, not having a car, and not knowing anyone, it forced me to ask for help. Ask for help.
That's a good one.
We all need help. And it's really hard to ask for it. It's really hard to humble yourself.
Like pride.
Totally.
Yeah.
And you want to do it on your own, and you want to, you're leaving the nest, and you don't want to ask mommy, you don't want to ask daddy. That's fine. Find someone that you can ask for help. And get you a mentor quick. That was huge for me moving here. Like, get a mentor, get someone who is in your industry, or at least just in your broader community, right? And ask them questions and talk to them and be vulnerable with them. That's another part of it, is like actually telling people what you're going through. Versus, right, which is like super scary. But I can remember so many early conversations when I first moved to Nashville of, well, this is where I'm at. I don't have a job. I want a job. I'm a really hard worker. I can do things. Just hire me to do them. I just need to get my foot in the door. And I said that to so many people, like, I just want a foot in the door. I just want a foot in the door. So ask for help, get you a mentor, get your foot in the door, and be patient with yourself.
Yeah, things
Be
don't
patient.
just happen overnight. Yeah, I remember going off to college and thinking like, I'm gonna get there, I'm gonna make so many friends, we're gonna have millions of friends, and then like, 2-3 months in, you're like, all right, I got my roommate, my random roommate over here. That's great advice. I mean, I wish I would have heard that, at that age.
Me too.
So let's talk about transitions. So you, I know we've talked before, and like you've moved several times, and I know you've juggled a lot of different like hats. Just talk about that, like how how did that feel between 25 and then now? What were some transitions that were like very challenging for you, and how did you deal with those?
That's a good one. So I have had so many jobs in the last 10 years. I mean, we could fill the rest of our time just talking about all the jobs I've had. Because that hustler spirit, I'm going to give a lot of credit to where I grew up. It's in me regardless of where I go, right? So I have been like the front desk girl at the label. I have been like the office coordinator. I've been the promotions coordinator. I've been the promo girl, taking people around at radio. I've been an Amazon delivery driver. I have been, you're welcome for getting your packages on time. I have been, the babysitter, the dog sitter, you have something that I can sit on, let me do that.
A model.
a model.
You're missing the main
Oh,
one.
yes,
Beautiful.
yes. Stop. Stop. Yeah, I found modeling while I was here, which has been incredible, about 4 years ago, and somehow landed into like hosting shows and, you know, having that whole personality kind of come out. A whole array of things.
Almost a reality star.
Almost a reality star. Still, we're still waiting on it. They're gonna call us any day now. They're gonna call us any. Hello? Gosh, so many things.
And do you feel like, you know, you had jobs that like you did not want to have, and then that's kind of what made you into who you are?
3,000%.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I think to take out of this and transitions is I think we get so hung up on doing things like the right way, you know, like especially when you leave college and it's like, okay, well, like you gotta leave college, then you gotta get your job, and then you gotta like be in that for a little bit, and then you like, you know, find you a partner, and then you nest, and then you know, you
all these invisible rules.
All these like things, right?
Following.
You start your life. And it's been very freeing to try a lot of things on. You know what I mean? Like, try it on. How do you know if you love it or you don't love it? I'm a doer. I'm like an experiential learner, right? So I gotta like get my hands dirty and then be like, actually that's not for me. But I heard someone say once, you know, a mistake is no longer a mistake if you learn from it.
I love that.
So as I'm in the job that I hate, it's actually really, really powerful for me to know exactly what I don't want so that I can then bring in what I do want, right?
I love that. I love that. I've said that about like people that I've dated, and I felt like I wasted all this time. Like I would date people for a year or 2 years, and then I would get done with it, and I'm like, well, I just wasted that whole time. Right. And then I started to reframe my perspective and just say, actually, that just like added to my playbook because I know what I don't want now, you know, or I know what I do want. And it's like, even if a partner is like, you know, like you like these things about them, but you don't like these things, like all of those things, good and bad, you can add to your playbook, you know, to participate in life in a more just 100%. Conscious way moving forward. 100%. I feel that way with jobs too. And, you know, I've had, you know, people that are younger than me ask me, you know, oh, how did you become a fashion designer, get in this position? I'm like, look, I have waitress. I've been a dental teeth whitener in the middle of the mall. I worked at a middle of the mall kiosk situation.
Wow.
Like,
tell us about that.
I hated all that.
That is, dude.
But that.
So you had to like.
Oh, it was intense.
Okay.
I literally just straight up was like the person in the middle of the mall at the kiosk, like,
Hi. Do you have a?
Can I get it?
Just
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. No one wants to.
No one wants, except for guys, creepy guys.
Yeah, you can whiten my teeth.
Yeah. So I say all that just to say, like, you have to get through, you know, these things in life that you may hate, and it really is, you know, building your character and prepping you. Like, I hated waitressing, but that helped me so much with like teamwork. And listening. And details. And, I don't know. I just love what you're saying because it's all about reframing like your perspective.
Totally. Yeah. I don't think I actually answered your question, but you know.
I think you did. I told you this conversation was going to twist and turn. And
we're floating above our bodies right now.
Okay, so let's talk about therapy a little bit. When were you first exposed to therapy? Have you been in therapy? What do you think about therapy? All the things.
Everyone needs a therapist. Like, I cannot stress enough. And I go in and out of therapy too. You know, like where there's like intense moments in my life and I'm like, okay, I need to work this out with someone. And then I'll like, you know, I'll go for several months and then I might take several months off and then I may go back.
Same.
So I think that it's incredibly important.
And when did you start?
I have not always had one. I started I would say probably somewhere around 27, 28.
What happened? Like, were you exposed to something else, or what initiated that?
Sorry, when you said exposed, I was like, are we exposed? You can't say exposed anymore in this climate. I was working through some childhood issues. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that's right about that age where you realize the things that you've been using mm-hmm. to deal with your life no longer work anymore. Mm-hmm. And so now I need to create my own patterns and my own pathways and figure out really what works for me. Mm-hmm. What do I do when I get really, really, really sad? What do I do when I get really, really mad? What do I do when I'm super frustrated? Mm-hmm. What do I do when I can't control my mood swings? Mm-hmm. I started asking myself lots of those questions, and then I think it also really helped not being in my cushy cocoon at home with my family and everything, and so now I'm away. And okay, Amara, how do I have the best day ever, mm-hmm. right? What is my process? What is my routine? How do I like to wake up? How do I like to go to bed? Mm-hmm. You know, all those questions I was just asking myself, and I'm endlessly curious. Mm-hmm. You know, it's something that I'm always like just following my curiosity and like, well, why do I think that? Well, do I still think that? Mm-hmm. You know,
that's so smart that you like were feeling that at that age. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, I have some friends that grew up, quote, normal, but what is normal? Mm-hmm. But like grew up with a loving family and didn't have really big traumas, and you know, went to church and all the things, and they're like, oh, I don't need therapy. But then some of these same friends still go through these depression, and they're sad, and they don't know how to control their mood or regulate it. And this is my opinion, but it makes me wonder if these individuals that did grow up in a very nurturing and loving situation, like, do they just expect that to be their whole life, and that life isn't hard, or that they're depending on maybe their happiness and their safety, it comes from other people, you know? And like, were you feeling that at that age? Like, were you just having deep thoughts about, like, you know, like, how do I create that for my own self and not depend on my family for that, or depend on someone else for those feelings of safety and happiness?
Correct. Well, I'm a stuffer. Okay. So I like to let it bubble. Yeah. And then I like to go, not now. Yeah. Not now. Yeah. And then, you know, and go through my life, and, you know, everything's cool. That's all good. And then, you know, it comes right back up, right in your throat. And, you know, and you got to kind of like push it down again. So you have to get to a place where you go, enough is enough. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to get to that place internally. And it has, you know, I don't think it has to happen in some big dramatic way, but I think regardless of the household you grew up in, we all as a society have gotten really good at, I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm great, I'm good. And if you tell yourself that enough times, maybe you start to believe it, right?
Yeah. I mean, we're trained to say, hey, how's your day? Oh, I'm good. Even though, like, you could have had, like, the worst day ever. Totally. Or someone just died, and you're like, oh, I'm good.
Totally.
It's like, good. We weren't really, like, conditioned to, like, be like, actually, I'm not good.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever said that to anybody? I haven't. I mean, other than, like, your close friends, but, like, if you're passing somebody, actually, I'm doing really shitty right now.
I'm having a terrible day. Thanks so much for asking.
Conditioned to say, I'm okay, I'm good. Yeah.
And so I think that for me, I had to get to a place where I was just like, actually, I'm not okay. I am typically super extroverted, bubbly, can talk to anyone. But I think I started having a lot of moments where I couldn't turn it on. And that scared me.
And those were like your signs? Like,
yeah. And I was just like, what's going on? Like, I can't turn it on right now. Or you show up somewhere and you get upset with yourself because you're not your normal bubbly self, and you go, well, why did I even come out? Why did I do this? And no one really wants to sit with themselves. I like myself, and I don't want to sit with myself. You know what I mean?
I feel you.
I would even go as far as say I love myself. But sometimes it's just really fucking hard to sit with yourself.
It is.
Especially when there's things that you don't like, you know?
Do you feel like you were just like pouring out everything into everyone else, and that your plate was empty and you didn't know where to like plug in and get that gasoline for yourself?
Yep. That's me all day. Are you okay? You're good. Okay, you're okay. You're okay. You're okay. Okay, you're okay. But are you okay? You're good.
And but if you're depleted, you're you know. How did you think of therapy like once you started as like a way of refueling yourself?
Honestly, no. But after I went through it, I was like, oh. You know, this is incredible, because really you're paying someone to listen to yourself, right? Who's your best teacher?
Yeah.
Brittany. Yeah. You know, who's my best teacher?
Exactly.
Amara. Because no one is going to put my shit in check like I'm going to put my shit in check, right?
Yeah.
And so once you get to that place of, okay, I'm not going to lie to myself anymore and say I'm okay when I'm not. Then okay, the real work begins. Now,
like therapy is like a mirror, you know, and you're
someone's
right.
just holding it up, and they're, you know, do you like what you see?
And you're paying to tell the truth.
Correct. It's like, well,
isn't that crazy?
I'm gonna pay you this hourly rate. I'm gonna be real honest.
Yeah.
Real honest.
So after you began, you know, this journey with, you know, self-help, like, were you feeling lighter? Were you feeling like you were carving your own path, and like, were you feeling empowered, or did it take a long time for that to happen?
I would say it doesn't take long once you tell yourself the truth. Yeah. You know, once the truth is in the room, you can't untruth it, right? And you can't like go, actually, I don't want to deal with that today. I think that mine was, it helped a lot that I also have really great friends, and I'm always very big about community and family. You know, my friends are my family. And if you can get people around you that will hold up the mirror and that will say like, hey, how's your heart? Like, really, how's your heart? You know, those kinds of friends. So it's like, it's a combination of doing the work and also putting yourself in that place where you can't fall into that sunken place again, right?
You have accountability.
You have accountability. You have people that know what's going on in your life, that are asking you questions. So that's been huge for me.
So from the time you started until now, like, you know, as you're, you know, paving your way and feeling empowered and you know, carving these new brain patterns, really, has there been anything else that's bubbled up for you that you were just like scared to death to, like, you know, tell the world? And, you know, how did you deal with that?
Ooh. Well, that makes me think of a more recent transition I've had in my life. I would say over the last 6 months, I have been allowing myself to love someone who's not the opposite sex.
Okay. Is that the first time you said that out loud?
It is. It is. Yeah.
I'm gonna hold that space for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's awesome.
We are prepped from a very young age as good girls to find us a good man. And get in a good home, get the dog, and start pumping out the babies. And that means that you are living a good life or something, right?
Or so they say.
Or so they say.
Who's they?
Right? Can we just call them up? This is some bullshit.
Yeah, we gotta rewrite some rules here.
And so the last 6 months have been, I talk about mood swings, and she can attest to this. I mean, I've been all over the place because I'm actually allowing myself to feel and to love who I love, regardless of how I was brought up, regardless of even this vision that I had for myself, you know? And so, you know, I found this person, and she meets me right where I am and loves me the way I want to be loved, and we reciprocate that. And it's a beautiful fucking thing, and it's a beautiful fucking life.
How do you feel even talking about it, like on camera?
I mean, I'm sweating.
Yeah, I'm sweating for you. I'm like,
in the best way, though.
I know, same.
In the best way, you know.
It's like a release. I feel like I'm released.
Total release.
I'm feeling that with you right now.
Yeah, but it's there's still, of course, those moments where I go, you know, like,
do you still have that like pattern in your body? Like, what are people gonna think? And my parents gonna think, like,
sure.
You know, like, how was that before you even like went there mentally? Like, were you just like, no, like, I don't want to feel that? Like, how are you?
Well, it was okay, I'll tell you a little story.
Okay.
Story time. You asked me if, while all of this is going on, am I freaking out? Am I thinking about what other people will think? Well, of course, I'm a human. And as much as we like to say we don't give a fuck, and it's like really cool to not give a fuck, in our society, everyone cares about everyone's opinion. So, you know, to the degree is up to you. But I can remember the first time we went on a date, which maybe was a friend date, but I think it was kind of a date. And picture this. I'm walking into the Ryman to see Rustin Kelly. It's a great show. And walking into the Ryman, and this guy comes up who we both used to talk to. Okay. Juicy. Beelines his way to us, and I'm not kidding you. I think in that moment, we created a force field. And when I think back on it, I can actually see the color of the energy, and it was blue. It's like a sapphire. It was a very deep blue. And I had a moment where I actually thought to myself, you know, it's really fucking powerful being a beautiful woman and walking into a room. But it's even more powerful to be with the other beautiful woman walking into the room together. And I remember thinking to myself, what was that? Like, what is this? Like, what is this? I had never felt that before. Yeah. And we sit down at our seats, and I'm just kind of like processing what was going on, and I feel like we like, you know, like we repelled his energy, right? And we walked in together, and I was just like, okay, I love this. And we sit down, and she put her motherfucking head on my shoulder, and that was it for me, honestly. I instantly, I had a voice.
And y'all had
that
not
I think is my inner
about
voice.
it before
No,
this.
not at all. Been friends for a few years,
Just, like,
but had
communicating.
never talked about that.
Okay.
And she put her head on my shoulder, and I thought to myself, I want to love, honor, and protect this person.
How were you just feeling like an
good.
overwhelming amount of love? Were you feeling any shame or guilt at that point?
None.
Just like overwhelming,
Zero.
washed
Like,
in you.
Mm-hmm.
And so talk about,
Like
you
a
know,
warm
later
wave.
that night. Like, how were you feeling? Were you mentally battling anything, or did you just feel...
No, I just felt great. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I just had the most intimate night with someone, and it was so incredible. And there was no sex involved.
I was going to say, it wasn't even like physical.
There was no physicality of any kind, which, you know, as women, I think that we all have issues with giving our body away, right? And to the right people, right? And so for me to feel that amount of love from someone with no physical contact was really, really big for me. Like huge, huge. And then, you know, of course, I woke up the next day and I was thinking about her, and I was thinking about her. Right?
Yeah.
When you're like thinking about your thoughts.
Like, you didn't just automatically go back to your old ways and you're like, no, that's not going to work. I'm not supposed to do that.
No, I was just like, whoa, I just kept asking myself, what is this? Like, this is different. What is this? And, you know, then I stuffed it for a couple weeks because that's what I do. You know, we get busy and we do stuff to distract ourselves. And I distracted myself for a couple weeks until I could not hold that truth and not say it.
Yeah.
And so I called her.
Are you nervous?
So nervous. And then I was like, wait, I am used to being chased, and all I want to do is chase this girl. What do you do? Do you, like, I really just wanted to send her a note that said, do you like me? Check yes, no, or maybe. Will you just send it back? And then, you know, I can know. We don't have to talk about it. It's fine. But yeah, I called her, and I think I just said something very eloquent, like,
Blacked out.
hey, I blacked out. Said, I like you. Like I like you. Like I like you.
Yeah.
You know? So,
do you
here we
think
are.
having, you know, some self-help work, you know, during that younger time in your life and going through therapy and carving your own way, do you feel like working on your mental health allowed you to be brave in that moment and take your power and say, no, I felt this. I'm not just going to go back to childhood patterns and reject it. I'm going to go with it. Do you feel like therapy did that for you?
1000%.
Yeah.
Like, this Amara would not have been able to receive that had I not broken down everything that I believe and built it back up. Right? It would have passed me by on the street.
Yeah, because you could have easily
just a year
dismissed
ago.
it. Yeah.
You know, I mean, timing is everything. I would have completely dismissed it.
It's just so amazing. And sometimes when we're stuck in those old patterns, we don't even feel the energy around us. Even in friendships or groups or whatnot. And I do believe when you start clearing that trauma that you're so much more receptive to relationships that, you know, you want to be in.
Right.
Friends, partners, jobs, all of it.
Bosses,
you attract
doesn't matter. Yeah.
what you've built back up versus like your old ways, you know?
Totally.
Love that. I love that. Well, I want to switch gears a little bit. And, you know, I've known this about you, and I've you know, gotten to know you a little bit better, you know, even over the last couple of days and like studying, you know, what you've been involved in. And you do spoken poetry, and I just want you to talk a little bit about the program that you've created and what you're doing in our community, because it is just so beyond magical. I don't even know what other word to describe it as, and I want to go with you, and I just want you to get into your vision and what you do, because I'm just so in that with you.
Oh, thanks, man. Okay, so 2019, I had just jumped out of record promotion, and I really needed something that was about real people. And the music industry is incredible. It's wonderful. We get to make believe, right? We get to make believe and call it work. But I really needed something that was grounded in the community and who are the people of Nashville really, you know? And so I went with a friend of mine, his name is Jordan Lawhead, and he has a program called You Inspire. And they were doing this Christmas program at the women's prison off of Harding. And he's like, hey, will you come, sing a song, do whatever you want to do? And I said, well, can I do some poetry? And he said, absolutely. So I come, spit some poetry, and the conversation that I was having with these women is unlike anything I've ever experienced in my life. And in that moment, I was like, the only places I want to perform is for people that really need to hear it and really need to receive it, right? And so as we're leaving that place, there was this one of the inmates, her name is Brittany, actually. How appropriate. And she goes, you're real good, you should teach here. And I was like, wow. I was like, that's very, very kind of you to say. I'm not a teacher, but thanks, gave her a pound, left. And then I went home and I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, I'm not a teacher, but if I were, what would I teach? And I just started writing a curriculum, and it came a lot easier than I thought it would. And I sent it to Davidson County Sheriff's Office, who has to approve all of the programming that comes in, and they were like, we love it, when can you start? And I was like, wait, wasn't expecting that. And it just kind of snowballed into, okay, I'll show up on X date and we'll just see what happens. And it's a 6-week program where I accepted about 8 to 12 students at a time. Wanted to keep the classes as small as possible, to be as honest and open and intimate, right, as possible. And so we graduated 6 classes. So 6-week program. It's kind of like poetry meets meditation, meets a Oprah Super Soul conversation, meets group therapy, it's kind of whatever it needs to be is what it is.
I was just about to say, it's probably so therapeutic.
Very therapeutic. So Safe Place Poetry Circle was born, and it's easily the most incredible thing I've ever done in my life. And we've been on hiatus because of COVID. And so I haven't seen anyone, in the last 2 years, but we've got something very, very exciting happening at the end of this month. We're going to be at the High Road Place, which is actually in North Nashville, and they service the homeless community. So it's a renovated assisted living place, so gives you a place to stay for a year, and then after that year, you're able to then transition into your own home or stay there at a reduced rate, kind of thing.
I love that.
But yeah, my heart is just about serving a need, and for me, I know it's been so powerful to have people ask me questions ask me how my heart is, ask me how I'm doing, and like really mean it. And then also, I think us as humans, it's actually our job to take what we know and share it. You know, like all this all of this, the self-help, all of the things that you've gone through, the most powerful thing you can do is to share your story with someone else. Someone else needs to hear it. Someone else needs to know.
That's right.
Because the only way we connect with each other is through sharing what we struggle with. Like, it actually brings us closer, right? Every single time it brings us closer. So Safe Place Poetry Circle is a place to be, a place for people to just be themselves. If you want to come and you want to write, great. If you want to come and you want to sit with your arms crossed in the corner and just be, that's fine too. If you want to come and spit some poetry, great. We do all of it.
Oh, I love that so much. I love that.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you feel comfortable or not, but
You
could you spit us some poetry?
Okay, so I was just having this conversation the other day. I don't know if you know, but we have all been in a global pandemonium.
Oh, we have?
It's debatable, but yes, we have. And I haven't really written anything new. And I've actually felt pretty like shitty about that, if I'm honest. You know, as a creative, it's like, what, you don't have anything new? Like, you didn't write anything new? So I'm gonna read you something that I wrote a little while ago that I think you'll love. Yeah, another thing about creating is like, allow yourself to be in whatever season you're in. Maybe you're just in a dormant season of taking it all in so that you can express it, you know? So I'm trying to be there right now.
I love that. My husband's a songwriter, musician. He literally has to take months worth of like not doing anything but living life to come back and then write about it.
Right?
Yeah.
You feel me?
I feel you.
I love this one so much. I watch the leaves dance across the street, and it occurs to me, I wish I was a leaf. I wish I was free. I watch the way they flow and sway without a care, and somehow I wish more of me could care to flow, care to dream still, care to be still and know what I know as knowing what I've known to be true. You have to take life in strides. Can't take things too personally. Just have to let it be sometimes. Let it breathe sometimes. Inhale. Exhale. Accelerate through the turning into new creation. Sensational you, sensational movement. Phenomenal women break free. Chains turned ashes. Restraints that ain't what they used to be. So I'm betting on me. Betting on me? All day, every day. Yesterday's lies ain't about to hold me down for nothing. I watch the leaves dance across the street, and something occurs to me. We are becoming, stepping into her.
I don't know why I'm like about to cry. That was amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us.
You're so welcome.
And thank you so much for just sharing. I know this is probably just a tiny bit of your journey, but it's so meaningful, and I know that people watching this are going to get a lot out of it. And thank you for just sharing like such a big life transition with me and with people watching this. And,
yeah. Thanks for asking the questions.
Of course.
You know? Yeah.
And we're going to have many more of these privately because
you already know.
I just love you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Now let's go rollerblading.
Yeah.
Let's go and do some rollerblading.